So what changes have you seen in terms of technology with respect to farming?
Well, I think seeds have been improved and changed, fertilizers, the amounts that you use, the way they're applied. Many things about it have changed.
And I know Jay has some very amazing equipment, some of his tractors and combines. Does he have a GPS in any of those?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Everything is getting almost too automated, but
they won't need farmers anymore. They'll just have robots run the farm. But I imagine you can't run a farm, a dairy farm with robots.
You need people for all of them.
Mm-hmm. Is your son Stuart implementing any new technology changes?
Well, right now we've kind of retired away from the farming and that, but yet again, I'd have to say the computer has really been quite the thing to make a difference on all of these different things, as far as on even on the dairy and that, even on the nutrition part of it, and also on the health part, and the other thing, and that is on the marketing and stuff and that. All of these things, they've been quite beneficial to have as an extra tool to work with and that. But everything seems to be getting a little bit more complicated to watch. And as far as on the dairy, the one thing that really kind of got to be a little bit different with the dairy was they started doing component pricing. And that was pricing out the proteins and the different solids and parts of the dairy, of the milk product. And that was good, and yet again it kind of made more challenging to how you would breed your livestock and also how you would feed your livestock and stuff and that. And so they were good, and yet again it put another challenge on how to do the farming and how to raise your livestock.
Mm-hmm. Now that there's been kind of a change toward accepting fats in milk, more so than maybe 5 or 10 years ago, where skim milk was the big thing.
Right.
Now they're often saying that the fat component has a lot of the vitamins.
Right.
Is there more of a switch back towards the older style cattle and away from Holsteins again?
I don't think so. Well, the other thing that's really changed for me is the different breeds of cattle. There's gotten to be more exotic breeds here and that, and there are more of those breeds that have better tolerance to weather conditions. They are more of a dual purpose breed, such as meat and dairy product. And the components have also been quite a deal with some of the different exotic breeds. As I was growing up, I thought there was actually only certain dairy breeds and now today there is quite a few more than I could even put a number on that. And it's been good, and yet again, I think it's kind of put a challenge to the whole dairy industry on some of this. I've liked some of that stuff and that, but it's a lot to keep up with.
Now, so the dairy cattle that you raised, did they need to be sheltered in the wintertime quite a bit? They need to
I would say that that's up to the individual place and where they are raised and where they are sheltered, and every situation like around here, the terrain of your land can make quite a difference. If you're on a ridge, or if you're in a valley, or if you're protected by windbreaks or whatever, can make quite a difference and stuff. If you can afford and have room for shelter, it makes quite a difference. It helps a lot, but that's up to the individual person.
Feeding the cattle in the wintertime, I imagine then if they aren't sheltered, if they have to generate more heat to maintain a body temperature, they're going to consume a lot more feed. Is that correct? Or
Yes, I would say so. And that the other thing that I have seen more than anything, as far as the dairy, a lot of the dairy right now, to my feeling, is that everything is bred to produce milk more, and they tend to not have quite the ability to maybe take some of the cold weathers and stuff because they're bred so strong for the dairy part. If a dairy animal has some portion of a beef in it, they chances are can take the weather a little bit better because they will have a little bit more excess flesh and fat to kind of help carry that body through the winter to maintain body heat and that.
can you remember, Barb, any situations where you would have your nursing practices would come into play, say delivering a calf or anything?
Well, usually an animal is able to deliver their own offspring, but once in a while I would say probably we called the veterinarian more than I did any assistance. But I thought it was useful. You have just kind of general health maintenance. I used to feed always the calves and even taking care of little baby pigs when we had them. If there were shots to be given, I could do it, Bob could do it, whoever was available.
Did you ever have any problems when you were breeding cattle, having problems with the delivery? That some breeds of cattle, say, would produce too large of offspring within the womb, and they would have a difficult time delivering them?
The breed of cattle that we had was jerseys and that was one thing about the jerseys. They very seldom had problems with breeding or in delivery of the calf and that. It was just the makeup of the way the jersey was and that, and they were maybe a little bit easier to breed and also for calving ease and that. So as far as we did have troubles, yes, we had our share of it, but yet again, I think as a rule, maybe not quite as bad as maybe some other breeds and stuff and that. The bad problem maybe, which was maybe the downfall on jerseys, were maybe not quite so many pounds of milk, but they then of course come back out with the butter fat, which in later years now has gotten to be more of the value added part of the milk and also the protein and that. The Holsteins, of course, they were known more for their pounds of milk and their body size and frame and of course when you would sell a Holstein in the market, you would gain more dollars because of more pounds per animal and size and everything. So, but yet it kind of come down to, I feel, a little bit as far as what the person really felt like working with or wanting to work with, and had the room for.
Did either of you ever have to bring any calves indoors?
I remember that quite a bit, and that the times that we did not really care about having calves calve was either late December or January. We really didn't care to have them calf at that time. Yes, I remember bringing in that, and I remember bringing in the milk into the milk house, taking a newborn calf who was very, very cold and very wet, and putting him in the milk house sink and putting him in a warm bath and leaving him in there for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes to warm him up and stuff. And it was always fun when you got that done to hear that new calf bellow and looking for its first ounce of milk, and that it was kind of fun. It was also rewarding for the fact that when you could care for and help a new life come to be. Because it was times that you needed to do that extra help.
Yeah. When you were, did you ever bring in?
I never had a calf in the house, but I remember having a bushel basket of pigs every once in a while, the baby pigs.
That was probably even more smelly, or not?
Well, no, they're pretty newborn. They're pretty clean yet, so
Oh, okay.
the kids thought they were kind of playthings.